sukham asina upasinam brihat shavaha devarishi praha viprarishim Veena pani smayan iva. Sutta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the rishi among the Brahmanas, Vedvyas. So Narada was smiling because he knew well the great sage Vyasdev. He was very much aware of Vyasdev's capabilities, and he was also aware of the cause of his disappointment. Because Narada, being the spiritual master of Vyasdev, he could understand why Vyasdev was actually feeling disappointed. So in this chapter, we'll see he'll be explaining the disappointment of Vyasdev was due to his lack of presenting devotional service. Not that Vyasdev doesn't know devotional service or he doesn't perform devotional service, but Vyasdev did not emphasize sufficiently on the principles of devotional service. And this was the cause of his disappointment. And Narada, he knew the defect, that how if a person is not sufficiently glorifying devotional service, the person cannot feel satisfaction. Yena atma suprasidati. So because Vyasdev had given Mahabharata, the other Puranas, Vedanta Sutra, Mahabharata. So all these literatures, they do have some form of emphasis on devotional service, but exclusively emphasizing on devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If that is not done, if it is mixed with karma, jnana, and other things, it will be beneficial still, but it will not completely satisfy the very self. So Narada Muni, he knew this defect, and he will be confirming. You will see in the forthcoming verse, he will be confirming this to Vyasdev. Next two. Narada Uvacha Parasharya Mahabhaga Bhavata Kachit Atmana Paritushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Evava. Addressing Vyasdev, the son of Parasharya, Narada inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? Parasharasya Mahabhava Bhaga Bhavata Kachid Atmana Paritushyati Sharira Atma Manasa Eva. So this is kind of a sarcastic remark by Narada Muni. So in this sarcastic remark, he is giving hint to Vyasdev, because sometimes spiritual master can take the superior position and chastise the disciple as well. So this verse is kind of a chastisement. Narada is giving chastisement to Vyasdev, taking the position of Guru. So Vyasdev, as the descendant of Parashar Muni, because Parashar Muni is considered one of the very powerful Vaishnava. He's devotee of Lord Vishnu. He's the one who actually has, narrated Vishnu Puran, which was compiled by Vyasadeva in the form of a book. But Parashar Muni is the source of Vishnu Puran. So he's a very powerful sage. So since Vyasadeva has the parentage of such a great sage and Vaishnava, which should not bring any cause of feeling dissonant or feeling unhappy, because being a great son of a great father, he should have identified the self, with the soul and not with the body or mind. Ordinary people, they identify themselves with this body or mind. Most of the population, they think the body is the self. But some intellectual class of people, they identify themselves with mind. They identify the self as the mind. But one cannot be satisfied. Suprasidati, yena atma suprasidati. One cannot be satisfied unless one is factually seated in self-realization, which is to understand that I'm not this body, I'm not the mind, I'm not even intelligence, I am spirit soul. And soul is part and parcel of Krishna. And soul, being transcendental to matter, cannot be happy with any material arrangements. So the sarcastic remark by Narada Muni in this verse is actually to indicate that Vyasadeva should not have encouraged people through the process of karma and jnana in all the literatures that he has compiled. We go to the next slide. Text 3. Jigyasitam susampannam apite mahadadbhutam kritaman bharatam yastvam sarvartha paribhramitam. Your inquiries were full and your studies were also well fulfilled. And there's no doubt that you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences, elaborately explained. So, Mahabharata, which actually consists of 100,000 verses, actually Mahabharata has 60,000 verses, not 60 lakhs of verses. That means 6 million verses. That's the size of Mahabharata. So the demigods, they read the Mahabharata, which has 3 million verses. That means 30 lakh verses. So this was also compiled by Vyasadeva. And then there is another version of Mahabharata which is read by the Pitris. They have about 15 lakhs of verses. Another one is, the sub-demigods, they also read, the version of Mahabharata, which has 14 lakh verses. And 1 lakh verses Mahabharata version is available in the human society. So, actually speaking, Vyasadeva compiled 6 million verses in the form of Mahabharata alone. You can imagine the Mahabharata that we have on this earth. If somebody starts scrutinizingly study Mahabharata, his whole life will be finished. But the demigods, because they have very long duration of life, they have very huge Mahabharata as well. The version of Srimad Bhagavatam that they have is also very huge. So, Mahabharata is not actually ordinary literature. The dissatisfaction in the Vyasadeva was not because of lack of sufficient knowledge. Because just imagine, to compile, say, even if we don't consider the Mahabharata which is available in the higher planetary system, even to compile 100,000 verses in one literature, Mahabharata alone. And that literature is actually full of so much wisdom and knowledge. So there was no lack of knowledge or wisdom in Vyasadeva. People generally in this world, they think that if I have a lot of money, I will be happy. If I have maybe a lot of education, then I'll be happy. Or maybe if I have, good following, a lot of people are following me, I'm very famous, then I'll be happy. But actually, none of these things can make us happy. The proof here we see is Vyasadeva, he was so knowledgeable, so learned. He has compiled Vedanta Sutra, he has compiled Upanishads, the 4 Vedas, the 18 Puranas, Mahabharata. So much literature he has compiled. So, for example, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, the instructions which are, I'll take just one portion of Bhagavatam, say for example, in 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj is giving instructions to his classmates at this school of Shanda and Amarka. He's giving instructions to his demoniac friends. And those instructions, if you read, they have so much wisdom in it. But again, Vyasadeva has not included all the instruction that Prahlad Maharaj gave to his demonic schoolmates. You'll find, in Vishnu Puran, there are similar instructions by Prahlad Maharaj to his schoolmates. And those instructions are actually very much different from the instructions that Vyasadeva has included in Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, Prahlad Maharaj says, that when people in this world establish loving relationship, he says, every loving relationship in this world established is like a spear established in the heart. And the spear is only going to give pain, like, arrow, a sharp, piercing arrow. As many relationships we establish in this world, those many heart-piercing arrows we are accumulating, which will eventually pierce our heart. You see, people are, so foolish, that in modern times they don't even, be satisfied. Like especially husband-wife relationship, they don't even feel satisfied in one relationship. They want to leave one relationship, go to another relationship, leave that relationship, go to another relationship. But according to Prahlad Maharaj, as many loving relationships you will establish in this world, those many heart-piercing arrows or spears you are establishing in your heart. It's such a wonderful wisdom. So, this is just we're taking one portion, but if you take all the literatures like Mahabharata, Mahabharata has so many wonderful instructions. So there was no lack of knowledge in Vyasadeva. But yet he is feeling dissatisfied. So Narad Muni is actually complimenting here to Vyasadeva that you have compiled Mahabharata, which is actually an extraordinary literature. Then why you should be unhappy? Why you should be dissatisfied? Text 4. Vyasitam aditam cha brahma yattat sanatanam tathapi shochasi atmanam apritartha iva prabho. You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu? So here, Vyasa is being appreciated by Narada Muni for giving the knowledge about the Absolute, which is there in the Vedanta Sutra. In previous verse, he was glorifying him for compiling Mahabharata. But here in this verse, Narada Muni is appreciating Vyasadev's compilation of Vedanta Sutra, which is also called Brahma Sutra. This Brahma Sutra is full of deliberation of the absolute truth, which is understood as impersonal Brahman. So it is accepted in most of the exalted philosophical expositions that Supreme Lord is actually impersonal. So Brahma Sutra actually gives lot of information on the absolute truth, which is apparently more leaning towards impersonalism. It covers the subject of eternity. So the Supreme Being eternal is emphasized a lot. So there cannot be any doubt about the scholarship of Vyasadeva. Then why he should lament? So therefore, Narada Muni is actually inquiring from Vyasadeva that if you have given the subject matter of absolute truth in the form of Vedanta Sutra, then why you should feel that you are lacking something? Because in Mahabharata, one can understand that Vyasadeva has very much, glorified. Of course, he has glorified the Supreme Lord as well. Bhagavad Gita is there as part of Mahabharata. But Mahabharata also describes a lot of karma kanda. But Vedanta Sutra is more leaning towards jnana. Because it is giving knowledge about the absolute truth and the Brahman feature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So there is knowledge about karma, there is knowledge about, there is this, literature on jnana as well, giving the knowledge of the absolute truth. So why should Vyasa be lamenting? So now Vyasa begins to speak. Vyasa uvacha astyeva me sarvam idam tyavoktam tathapi natma paritushyate me. Tanmoolam avyaktam aghad bodham pritchamahi tvatma bhavatma bhutam. Shri Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified, and therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of Brahma, who is self-born, without mundane father and mother. So, Vyasadeva begins to speak. Now, Vyasadeva being the disciple, he is glorifying the spiritual master, Sri Narada Muni. In the material world, everyone is engrossed with the idea of satisfying the body or the mind, thinking oneself or identifying oneself with the body and mind. And all knowledge that is disseminated or given is related to either body or mind. So if you see the modern universities, they have so many branches of PhDs, so many departments of knowledge, so much literature is compiled. Everything is related to matter. In fact, we can't even imagine how much literature is published, especially in this age of Kali. So much literature is published of all kinds of varieties, which are nothing but related to body. Very little relates to mind, but most of literature, they either relate to body or mind. And just imagine, like practically every week, I see in our mailbox so many such thick books of advertisement come from different companies. Such thick books advertising different products, which have no relevance to our, ordinary day-to-day life. Like, just yesterday, I remember receiving such thick book, maybe few hundred pages book. It said, the title was saying 6,500 different products on only musical instruments, and they were all Western music, not even classical or other music. So all Western music related musical instruments and gadgets. 6,500. It's such thick book advertising only that. And many times we receive such thick book, about yellow pages, all kinds of advertisements. So they waste so much paper. So many trees are cut down. People who are publishing such advertisement or yellow pages and all, they think by that effort, we will gain some finances or some financial gain, and that will make us happy. But anything related to body and mind does not bring any satisfaction. So, no matter who and how powerful the person may be, if a person is thinking, I will act on the platform of body or mind, can never feel satisfied. Even if one is great, learned scholar like Vyasadeva, will never feel satisfied. And therefore, it is essential that one should approach a guru, a bona fide spiritual master, who is a representative of Narada Muni. And why Narada should be approached? In this verse, Vyasadeva is explaining also the reason that because Narada Muni is not only, the spiritual master of Vyasadeva, but he's also direct son of Brahma. It means Narada Muni was born directly from the body of Brahma. So therefore, Vyasadeva is glorifying Narada Muni and begins to inquire what is the cause of his despondency and what he should do. We'll see in the forthcoming verses. Narada Muni would glorify. Narada Muni would actually indicate from his own example, recollecting his past life. He will glorify the process of devotional service. So in this chapter and the next chapter, this will be the history of Narada and how he attained perfection as son of Brahma. Because in previous life, Narada Muni was actually son of a maid servant. His mother was a maid servant. She was a dasi. So Narada, although he was a son of maid servant and didn't have any aristocracy, but somehow that he was blessed by some Vaishnavas, the great Bhaktivedanta Vaishnavas. And therefore, Narada Muni got not only purified from his low birth, but also attained the position of a great sage, became directly the son of Brahma. So this is the sum and substance. So here in this verse, Vyasadeva is putting forth the questions to Narada Muni, because Narada Muni he says, Aghada Bodham. Aghada Bodham means man of unlimited knowledge. So a spiritual master actually is a person who has knowledge about the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, by the mercy of the Absolute Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master can exhibit the unlimited knowledge. Not necessarily that spiritual master has to know everything. As we read in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the sages of Naimisharanya, they were glorifying Sutta Goswami, that you are almost, knowing everything. And Srila Prabhupada explained the spiritual master doesn't need to know everything. But he knows everything that is required for perfecting one's life. So one cannot expect that, oh, my spiritual master should know quantum mechanics. He should know the anatomy of the body. He should know how the stars and all the planetary systems, they are rotating in the sky. He should have perfect knowledge of cosmology. He should have perfect knowledge of, Jyotish Shastra. No. That is not the qualification of spiritual master. That doesn't mean Aghada Bodham, unlimited knowledge. The word Aghada Bodham, or man of unlimited knowledge, means the person who has perfect wisdom, perfect knowledge about Supreme Absolute Truth. So Narada Muni is actually that kind of spiritual master. And of course, Narada Muni is also considered incarnation of the Lord. So, so he has perfect knowledge of devotional service. In fact, even Vyasdev is not as accomplished in the knowledge of devotional service as as Narada Muni. We know Brahma is the first Acharya in our parampara. But Brahma is not as complete in the Vedic knowledge as Vyasdev. Because Vyasdev is the incarnation of the Lord who appeared to compile all the Vedic literatures. So even Brahma doesn't have as much complete knowledge as Vyasdev has. But the knowledge about the devotional service and the practical aspects of devotional service, as they are known to Narada Muni, they are not known to either Brahma or even Vyasdev. So that is the specific nature of the avatar, because Narada Muni is considered incarnation of the Lord's potency of devotional service, mercy potency. So Narada Muni is always merciful, and he goes around distributing devotional service, giving people instruction on devotional service. So therefore, in this verse we see Vyasdev is glorifying the exalted position of Narada Muni and begins to inquire from Narada. So this is the sum and substance of these few verses. I think we'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.